If you're just joining us, the program is still This Morning on ITV, and this is our second discussion segment. On this segment, we're going to be talking environment. It is no longer news that the entire world, Nigeria inclusive, is faced with environmental issues, indiscriminate disposal of waste, and how human activity has affected the environment. People are talking about climate change and a whole lot of other stuff concerning environment. And there's also the electronic environmental issues. So these are some of the issues we are going to be looking at in this segment of the program. And to discuss this with me, I have on set Professor Aliyu Jauro, Director General, National Environmental Standards and Regulations Enforcement Agency, that is Nesrea. You're welcome, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Sir, when we talk about e-waste, what are we really talking about?
E-waste, that is electronic waste, is any form of electrical electronic equipment that has come to its end of life or is no more wanted by the user. So it becomes the waste because it's no more useful. So it's a form of environmental problem. So we tend to discard some of this equipment, and they are very harmful to the environment. So this equipment usually requires source of electricity, either battery, power supply. So equipment like the televisions, the phones we use, mobile phones, refrigerators, washing machines, ACs, and all sort of equipment that uses power are classified as electrical electronic equipment.
Okay, when you talk about affecting human beings, the item has been disposed of. How does it affect humans?
This electrical electronic equipment, they contain a lot of harmful substances, ranging from heavy metals. It contains metals like lead, chromium, gold, cobalt. All of them are contained in this electrical electronic equipment. And apart from that, it also contains brominated flame retardants. So all these components are hazardous to human health and the environment. So if this electrical electronic waste is not handled properly, it impacts on the environment and the human health. So what is happening when these are disposed, just like that, when it rains or if there is any source of water, it washes some of these heavy metals. Is take them to sources of water supply, so they will leach down into the underground water reservoir, that is the aquifer. So when you have a water wells or you dug a borehole, you may end up consuming some of these heavy metals. Likewise, the brominated flame retardants, we have some people that tend to recover some of these valuable materials. So when they burn some of these electrical electronic games, especially to recover the metallic components, so these brominated flame retardants would break down to release a lot of harmful pollutants that will pollute the air we use, we breathe in. So that's why it's very, very harmful.
When we talk about disposal, so let me ask, is it safer to keep these things where you no longer need them in a storage, in a store in your house? Is it safer that way?
No, if you keep in a store, for what purpose? For what purpose? So the only solution is for this equipment to be recycled. Now what we are talking about is circular economy. People should try as much as they can to recover the useful part and channel back into the cycle. So presently there is what we call extended producer responsibility. So this one is a framework of action in which any manufacturer, producer, importer of any item, for instance electronic equipment, is saddled with the responsibility of taking care of that equipment and at the end of its life. So it is a framework in which they are saddled with the responsibility of providing an incentive in such a way that when it comes to the electronic equipment will be recovered, then recycled. When it is recycled, a lot of valuable components would be removed from there and channeled back into the system. For example, most of the electronic equipment you see, the amount of gold in some of these circuit boards is 100 times more than the concentration of gold in the gold ore that is mined and gold being extracted. So there are a lot of valuable materials apart from the harmful ones. So when you extract the valuable ones, the non-useful part of the electronic material can be disposed of in a sound environmental manner. So that is the framework we are working with now, that is the EPR. So presently in Nigeria, when you talk about the electronic waste, we have received a grant from the Global Environmental Facility. So we are working with the United Environment Program in order to showcase a pilot project on the best way to recycle this waste.
I was actually coming to that because many Nigerians watching you now and listening to you actually before now may not have known that the way we dispose of our electrical appliances can actually affect people's health. So I was about to ask you that, okay, what are you doing? What is the agency doing to ensure that Nigerians are safe from this things that happen to them whenever this stuff are being disposed of? And in the area of sensitization, how far?
Well, the agency, that is Nesrea, is saddled with the responsibility of ensuring a cleaner and healthier environment for Nigerians.
Can you say we have a cleaner
ensuring. We are working toward that, yes. So in the course of doing that, we came up with environmental regulations, 33 of them, covering all aspects of environment. So some of these regulations, there is National Environmental Waste and Sanitation Control. We have National Environmental Electrical Electronic Sector regulations. So these two regulations, if you look at them, they are talking about they have bearing on the electrical electronic waste. So we have the extended producer embedded in these two regulations. That is what we call polluter pays principle. Whoever pollute the environment is saddled responsibility of cleaning the environment. So based on that, we came up with the EPR guidelines, and in collaboration with the GEF, Global Environmental Facility, and United Environment Program, we are presently showcasing a pilot project, and we are targeting collection of 300,000 tons of electronic waste in Lagos. So it's the first of its kind in the whole African continent. So we are going to involve the collectors. If you look around early in the morning, you see scavengers.
Yes, those people call Babambola.
Babambola. They go around collecting all sorts of materials. Part of these things they collect include the electronic waste. So we have the collectors, we also have recyclers. But the way they do it is not in the best environmental manner. For instance, if you go to where they recycle, where they collect them, they will just use their hammer and bare hands, split the items, break it, and remove items of interest. For instance, if there is copper wire, they will just go ahead and burn the insulator just to recover it. So in the course of doing that, they pollute the environment. They also expose themselves to all these hazardous substances. So the essence of this project is to showcase the best way to do it. So we are going to formalize the process. We have formal collectors, we are going to have the formal recyclers, and we are working with the producer responsibility organization model, the PRO model, in which a third party is appointed and is saddled with the responsibility of taking care of the recyclers and the collectors. At the same time, they are being funded by the manufacturers, the importers, the retailers, in which we classify in Nigerian context as the producers. So they manage these stakeholders on behalf of the producers, while Nesrea as an agency, we oversee all the process. So when we do that, hopefully we are going to get a lot of value from the electronic waste. Apart from safeguarding the environment, we are going to get a lot of valuable components that will be channeled back, so job will be created, because presently about 100,000 Nigerians work in this EWaste sector. They are involved in the collection and recycling. So we make this better, safeguard our environment, create jobs, and also contribute to the Nigerian economy.
Nesrea is an agency that ensures a clean environment, right?
Yes.
Would you say your agency is doing enough in terms of ensuring that the entire country, because what plays out most times is that the city centers, you see them very clean, very neat, the cleaners are there all the time, but when you go down to the rural areas, anything goes. So are you saying Nesrea is doing enough in that area?
Yes, we are doing our best.
And does Nesrea go down to the rural area to ensure that the environment is clean?
Yes, you know, Nigeria is a very big country. And
I'm sure Nesrea has branches.
Yes, presently we have 31 state offices. And hopefully we will cover the remaining 5 states. So we try as much as we can to reach down to the grassroots. But if you consider the manpower, the number of staff we have, it's very, very difficult to cover all the nooks and crannies.
Because I want to tell you that if I go to my village and ask them,
yes,
Nesrea, they may not know.
Yes, and if you look at it, we are just present in the state capitals. So, but with time, hopefully, we hope to reach down to the local governments. But presently, what we do, we engage all relevant stakeholders. We always organize meetings where we discuss issues. So, and we use media to reach to the grassroots. But it's not sufficient enough, I can say, because of the issue of funding. You know, when you want to use, you pay a lot of money, airtime. So
you
hopefully,
see,
with time.
Do you know why I'm smiling? Because government agencies, I'm used to hearing government agencies complaining about funding. And somebody out there will say that, okay, there's always an annual budget. And if there is an annual budget, there should be a design project that will say, okay, this project should cater for this. Let Nigerians see that this is done and dealt with. So that won't be so.
Well, I don't want to delve much into the issue of budget because. So what is happening when it comes to budgets? You are just given an envelope. So this is yes. So whatever you do should be within
the envelope.
The envelope. So if the envelope is not rich enough, there's nothing you can do. You have to confine yourself within that envelope. Not that you will be given the opportunity to say, okay, prepare your budget so that you list all your requirements and profile that I need so amount. So that is one of the problems that is hindering our operations, even though the federal government is doing its best. And hopefully we always complain and they tend to see how they can increase the budget.
Prof, on a serious note, there is we have environmental issues, and these environmental issues, they are on the increase on a daily basis. Environmental degradation in the south, we have erosion, we have desertification, and all of that. Yes, you just mentioned paucity of funds as a limitation to what you do. But are you not worried that these issues are on the increase? And looking at the fact that the population of the country also is increasing.
Yes, it's a cause of worry. And all of us, we have a role to play so that we safeguard the environment. This environment is you and me. We are part of the environment, so we must all come together to see how we can solve some of these problems. For instance, you have mentioned issues to do with desertification, flood, all this erosion, all these are linked to climate change. And what are these causes of climatic change? Yes, we know that there is a contribution of global warming. We are all culprits, and we know this global warming is as a result of the generation of these greenhouse gases. So apart from these greenhouse gases, when the temperature rises, we know that the ice will melt, and this leads to rise in sea levels, our rivers, leading to flooding. At the same time, there are also some contributions of what we do as individuals. For instance, we cut down our trees anyhow.
Okay, we are not supposed to cut down trees.
We are not supposed to cut down trees anyhow. When you cut down a tree, you are supposed to plant at least 3.
Okay, if you cut one down,
yes,
you're supposed to plant
at least 3 plants.
Wow.
And not them to maturity. But if you look at it now, especially in the rural areas, we have destroyed all our plants. The forest is no more there. And especially now that we use this charcoal
when
for
you say
cooking.
The forest is no more there, Nigerians don't agree with you.
It's true.
There are forests, especially the ones that bandits hide in. And
what is limited? If you go to most of this, now if we are looking for a firewood source in the villages, before they can get a good quality firewood, they have to go deep down into the bush. So the way we do things, one day we may not have even the tree to cut down. If you cut down a tree, you don't plant. So maybe future generations, when they come, it will be difficult. And these trees are those that are responsible for protecting the environment. When there is strong wind, they serve as windbreakers. Likewise, even the soil, they bind the soil, protecting erosion and also other factors. Apart from that, the wildlife also are being depleted. We hunt anyhow we like, and when we cut down these trees, they too, they cannot be able to live there without all this vegetation, so they tend to migrate. So with time, we don't manage these resources. We may not have something to use, especially those that are coming in the near future. So we must manage our resources in a sustainable manner.
So how do we come to this level? Because I remember growing up in the village, there were some fruits that we used to eat back then. You just get them, pluck them, peel them in the bush and you eat. But these days you don't see them.
Yes.
You don't see them. So how did we get to this level where the trees are cut down, people hunting? How? What prompted all this?
Well, it's sorry to say, it has to do with one, the awareness. We are not very aware that now if you go and meet a village man and say you shouldn't cut a tree just like that, you must plant more, he will even be, he will look at you. He's not aware first of the need for him to plant more so that he can harvest in some years to come. Secondly, there is issue of poverty. People are very poor. For instance, for cooking, ideally you're supposed to use clean fuel, source of fuel, natural gas. So most of this is not affordable, even in cities, to buy a cylinder of gas to refill at times. Some of us become very difficult because of the cost. For all this, if they are provided, nobody would like to go and chop down the tree because even cooking with firewood
no, but
is harmful.
Cooked with firewood tastes better.
That's your belief.
It is what. Okay, let's go back to our discussion on e-waste and the scavengers. I am very worried because you mentioned something that the manner at which they collect this stuff and how they melt some, they burn some to bring out the materials they need is also harmful to them. So is there anything the agency is doing to enlighten them, bring them in? Because you can see that they are actually struggling to make a living.
Yes.
Will they be in the picture of all of this?
They will.
Not to punish them, but maybe to bring them in.
So,
is there any provision for that?
So the Extended Producer Responsibility Program for the electronic waste, the one I've mentioned, that we are working with Global Environmental Facility and the United Nations Environment Program. We have a series of activities. We are targeting collection of about 300,000 tons of electronic waste to showcase the best way to go about recycling. So we have engaged consultants in the course of doing that. We have media consultants, we have those that are responsible for, consultants responsible
I hope the consultants are the type that can go into a village, not the ones that will go to a city center and begin to control things from there.
Yes, as I have said, what we have now is a pilot project, if you are talking about the project, and it's going to be in Lagos. So we have already gone far. So we are going to showcase how to do it. So when we are done with the project in Lagos, we hope to replicate in other states, not only in Nigeria, other African countries, because the project is the first of its kind. So we sensitize the general public, not only Lagosians, the whole Nigerians, because this e-waste is generated all over. So it can be collected anywhere and be sent.
I want to ask, why Lagos?
Lagos is a hub, yes, as far as electronics is concerned, because of the seaports and Lagos, we receive at least about 60,000 of some of this use electronic. Okay. They come legally through the ports. So most of this, about 25%, I discovered to be dead on arrival.
Oh, wow. So
the bulk of the electronic waste is generated in Lagos. Maybe I can say the whole of Africa. You cannot get the volume of e-waste that you get in Lagos, because we generate, in Nigeria, we generate about 290,000 tons of e-waste annually. So it may even be more than that. And globally, we know it's a general problem, because about 50 million metric tons of this e-waste is being generated. So we must find a way of managing it. So we are engaging not only those that are involved, the general public, you and me, as you have said. We also use these electronic gadgets. So when you are no more in need of it, you either take it to the collectors, give it out for free, or they can even give you some money for that. When you take it, this is for sale. There's provision for some. They can buy it from you and take it for recycling. Likewise, we all have a role to play. You can sensitize those that are with you about the dangers associated with it. If you go around, and even in villages, we have those that repair some of this.
Yes.
So they tend to collect and just dump them like that. So it's very, very harmful. So there is need for all of us to put our hands on deck in order to check this problem, because it will continue to increase. You know, the world is changing.
Yes.
It's now computer age, and all these gadgets have been upgraded anytime. And also, when it comes to issue of waste management, we have what we call, you are expected to either reuse, for instance. Don't just say, I'm rich enough, so I can just be changing my electronic gadgets anytime. If you are conscious of the environment, if that gadget is still useful, you are expected to either continue using it
or you give it out.
You give it out, so you either reuse, and when it develops some little fault, you can repair it just to protect the environment instead of contributing. You can repair it, you can take it there where they can recycle it, so and all other things that you can do in order to prevent this waste generation is the best way to go about it. Because you say, oh, I will just buy and dump.
I remember growing up, we used to have this sanitary inspectors that come down to the village.
Yes.
They come down to the rural areas. They come to inspect how clean the environment is. I can vividly remember that there were even punishment sanctions meted out to those who violate, who do not clean up their environment. What happened to these people? I remember some times ago there was a talk of reintroducing them, but up to now we've not seen anything.
I think we still have them in some places. If you look at it, as you have said, those officers
Because I've seen any, I can't.
Yeah, it depends on those officers you see at that time. Most of them are employed by the local government.
Okay.
So I think this framework is still in place, and I believe in some places they do operate. And apart from that, in my ministry, the Federal Ministry of Environment, there's an agency, the Environmental Health Officers Registration Council. So they are also involved in some of these activities, and I know they always go to do some of these inspections. Likewise, Nesrea as an agency also, we have a role to do with waste and sanitation control. So we also go around to inspect and ensure compliance. When there are violations, we sanction defaulters.
Okay, when there are violators,
yes,
you sanction defaulters.
Yes.
Let me begin with the violations, because there is a need for Nigerians to be educated on what constitutes a violation of environmental law. The ordinary Nigerian just believe that if I am done with this stuff, let me just throw it out. So, Prof, educate Nigerians what constitutes environmental violation of environmental law.
For instance, when it comes to waste generation, if you generate a waste, you are not supposed to just go and dump it anyhow. Okay. You collect it. We do it in our households. We have our waste bins. So this is supposed to be collected by accredited waste handlers. So they will come and collect this waste. So when they collect the waste, they will take it to the appropriate place, either for recycling, or they will take it to the dump site where they will go and dump it. So, but if you look at it, people are in the habit of just littering. For instance, somebody will buy sachet water. As soon as he finish drinking, even if he's moving in his car, he will just throw it by the window. Or they will buy sugar cane. You see people just taking sugar cane and just be throwing. So all these ones are not allowed. It's a violation of some of these environmental laws. And what is very, very important is for people to do what is right first. So if people can comply voluntarily, it's better, because, for instance, there's no way one can be tracked simply because if somebody is driving now and is littering, it's very difficult for someone to say, you may end up maybe in the morning, you see most of the places are being littered. Even during the daytime, it's not possible for us to be there anytime, 24 hours. So they will litter the place anyhow. So the best thing is for us to know that we are doing that in our own best interests. We try to safeguard the environment, because if you destroy it, you are the one that's going to be affected. So after doing that, then we as an agency, we also engage all the stakeholders to sensitize them on the need. We go on public education, where we distribute environmental education awareness materials. We go to marketplaces, we visit some of the village heads, we engage the people, we lecture them on what they need to do to safeguard the environment. So, and also we have specific regulations, as I've said, for sectors of the environment. We have the manufacturing sectors. So all these regulations also, they are binding on them. We have different sectors, so, and there are specific regulations they need to abide by.
Let's talk about the sanctions. Can you elaborate on some of these sanctions?
Some of these sanctions, for instance, whoever litters the environment, is if he's established, he can be taken to a court of law, and he can be fined some money.
Like how much?
Like 200,000 naira. Yes. And apart from the fine,
so
the
if
judge
I
has
just drop a sachet of pure water and it's established, I can be taken to court.
You can be taken to court.
And I'll pay that much.
Yes, you can be fined one. Apart from the fine, the judge can decide to jail a person, because it's not always here. And some of this provision may even entail the combination of the two. You can be fined and be jailed at the same time. So all these are provided in almost all these 33 regulations I'm talking about. And before, our principal acts specify a ceiling. It will be somebody cannot be fined not more than, before it was not more than. Most of the provisions, there's a ceiling that it cannot be fined more than a certain amount. It cannot be jailed more than certain period of time. But when the act was amended in 2018, they removed that ceiling. Yes.
So at the discretion of the judge.
Not less than.
Okay.
Yeah. Now the fine is not less than a certain amount, and the jail term not less than a certain period of time. So it's now more deterrent, so that the judge now has the leverage to impose steeper penalties, which can serve as a deterrent to all violators.
All right, Prof, as a final word, what would be your advice to Nigerians?
My advice to Nigerians is this environment.
And you also tell Nigerians what your agency is putting in place to keep Nigerians safe from environmental issues. Be specific, even if one or two things. Something they can point out to and say, this one is from Nesrea.
Okay, the National Environmental Standard and Regulation Enforcement Agency, we have the mandate to enforce compliance with all environmental laws, regulations, policies. So as an agency, we are doing our best to see that people comply with this. So we sensitize the public, and we also engage all stakeholders to see how we can have a cleaner and healthier environment. So my advice to Nigerians is, the environment is you and me. Without this environment, we won't have a place to live. So please, let's put our hands together to ensure a clean and healthy environment.
Thank you very much, Professor Aliyu Jauro.
Thank you.
Akuman. I want to speak Fulani with
you.
Thank you very much for being part of our program.
Thank you.
We've been discussing the effects of e-waste on humans, and we had the pleasure of having the Director General, National Environmental Standard and Regulations Enforcement Agency. Once again, sir, I must say thank you very much for coming to the program.
Welcome.
Nigerians, if you do not know, you know today that the way you dispose your used electrical appliances can affect the environment, can affect you, because you may drink from that water that will be carried, that will be contaminated when that particular object that you disposed of anyhow becomes decomposed down the ground. So we'll be taking a short break, and when we return, the program this morning on ITV continues. Don't go away.